Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the Chairman of the West Bridgewater Board of Selectmen, Anthony Kinahan.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Bridgewater's Bicentennial Celebration Kickoff, and I'd like to officially call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. At this time, I will read a proclamation by the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen commemorating the 200th anniversary of the town of West Bridgewater. Whereas West Bridgewater, formerly the West Parish of Bridgewater, was incorporated as a separate town on February 16, 1822. And whereas we gather here in the town's first original meeting house to recognize and celebrate the town's bicentennial anniversary. And whereas the town of West Bridgewater will proudly mark its 200th anniversary with a series of events throughout its bicentennial year, beginning tonight, February 16th, 2022, with its 200th bicentennial celebration kickoff, and continuing throughout the year with events hosted by several municipal departments and local organizations. Therefore, be it resolved, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of West Bridgewater, do hereby proclaim the year 2022 as the year of celebration for the town in recognition of the 200th anniversary of the town's official incorporation. In witness thereof, we hereunto set our hands and cause the great seal of the town of West Bridgewater to be affixed this 16th day of February 2022. Signed, the Board of Selectmen, Anthony Kinahan, Chairman, Meredith Anderson, Vice Chairman, and Denise Reyes, Clerk. I would now like to invite Meredith Anderson up to read a proclamation from the Governor of the Commonwealth.
Town of West Bridgewater, on behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I am pleased to confer upon the town of West Bridgewater this Governor's citation in recognition of its 200th anniversary. The growth of local commercial and agricultural industry, and the tireless efforts of its residents to cultivate the scenic character for future generations. The 16th day of February in the year 2022, signed by our Governor, Charles Baker, and our Lieutenant Governor, Karen Polito. I also want to take this time to say thank you to West Bridgewater. We have an amazing community. My family has a lot of history here. My children, my husband and I counted it out, they're fifth generation West Bridgewater residents. Two of them are literally were born here. That wasn't exactly planned. Sean and I walked up this aisle and got married. So West Bridgewater means a lot to me. I love the community that we have and the way we all support each other. And for that, everyone who knows me knows that I tease about West Bridgewater being the best Bridgewater. So if any of you visit me in my office, you will see a sign that says, Mary is from Best Bridgewater.
Thank you, Selectman Anderson. And Selectman Reyes would like to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. So I had to write this, so bear with me, okay? As I was driving home from New Hampshire this weekend, it was 4 degrees outside. Inside my car was toasty warm at 82 degrees, and I thought, what could I possibly say that would be inspiring or interesting? I wondered what it was like in the world in the 1800s. If I could have only called Jimmy Benson, he'd have an answer for me. He was a great historian. Well, I spoke over the Bluetooth and said, Google, podcast, interesting events in the 1800s. To my surprise, Google returned, podcast, the late Victorian manure crisis. My immediate reaction is, you've got to be kidding. But all right, I'll listen. It's okay to laugh. If you think world news is pretty crappy now, well, let me tell you. No doubt in the 1800s, the good people of West Bridgewater were shaking their heads at what the big city folks were fretting over. Apparently, manure was global news, and I quote, in 1894, the Times of London predicted that within 50 years, every street in London would be buried under 9 feet of manure. Trust me, this is all true. This was an urban catastrophe. It was the bane of every large city in the world, from New York to Sydney. You see, horses were not only for working the farms, they were also the main source for personal transportation and used with various types of wagons to transport goods. Believe it or not, horse traffic was quite an issue in the cities. A dire situation was thwarted when in 1893 the first successful American gasoline automobile was built, which was followed in 1908 when General Motors was founded. And now, 114 years later, in our small town, we have 3 sets of lights on 106 from the 24 overpass until you hit the grand finale, the center of town. If you're new in town and a member of the West Bridgewater Hub, our source of news and entertainment as well, you will soon learn some things of importance. Very few people in this town know when the dump is open. Target is not coming to town, or is it? And yes, Crystal's Kitchen is amazing. So what is my point? 200 years ago, our ancestors incorporated this town. They could not have imagined the changes that would occur, some good, and the result of industrialization and technology, some not so good. And for all it is, I couldn't be more proud to call West Bridgewater home. What we have is a strong community, a community vocal in its beliefs, a community that takes pride in its working farms, walking trails, its school sports teams, and holding on to its small town charm, a caring community that does not waste a moment to help a neighbor in need. We may be a small town, but undisputedly a town with a big heart. Happy birthday, West Bridgewater, and may God continue to bless our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Reyes. And now I'd like to turn it over to tonight's MC, someone who'll do a much better job than I will. Doesn't need an introduction, Jerry Lawrence.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to have been asked to MC tonight's event and to chair our 200th anniversary Bicentennial celebration, and it's a great honor to see so many of you out here today. The shoes of this position should have been filled by Jim Benson, who was a great historian, a great man who unfortunately was taken from the world too soon, especially when I needed him most. And there wasn't anything I couldn't call Jim about, and Jim knew everything about our town's history. With that being said, we're going to get the formal celebration started. And with that, I'm going to invite Pastor Finlan from the West Bridgewater First Church for our invocation.
Welcome, everybody. Back again, 200 years from the first time. So I'm going to say a prayer to try to center ourselves. Creator God, we know that those who are focused on you have inner peace. That those whose minds are set on you are at peace with you. And those who have inner concentration and peace can do more work. Work can be exhausting, but it's actually a certain calm that enables us to get work done. So we pray that you help us to calm our hearts and to do work and also to enjoy the celebration. Thank you, God. Thank you for all these people. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to ask that you please stand if you can as the West Bridgewater Police Department Color Guard, led by the Boston Police Gala Column, Pipe, and Drum, present our colors. gentlemen, please remain standing as we do the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Town Clerk Annie Iannatelli, followed by the singing of the National Anthem by the West Bridgewater Middle Junior Senior High School Chorus. Pleasure, and let's give one more big round of applause for the West Bridgewater Police Department and the Boston Police Department. We thank you all for being here tonight for this fabulous celebration. Please be seated. Since we started talking about our 200th celebration, There's a few questions people ask. Jerry, isn't our history much deeper than 200 years? Well, of course it is. We go back to when West Bridgewater, a lot of you probably don't know, we're part of Duxbury. And later, of course, part of Bridgewater. First to leave the Bridgewater was Brockton, who celebrated their 200th independent anniversary last year. And of course, we're here celebrating our anniversary this year, followed by East Bridgewater next year. This is probably, to my memory, the first time the elected leaders of all four communities have been together today, and it's a great honor to have you all here celebrating at our anniversary. The second question people asked, why, Jerry, are we meeting at the First Church? Why with the First Church? Folks, this is where it all began. This is where the town of West Bridgewater began. This is where the leadership from the town of Bridgewater began, in this building with this congregation. And we're better to celebrate our 200th anniversary than back in the building where it all started. And our government met here, so I can only imagine 100 years ago when we celebrated our 100th. By the way, I can't find anything about a 100th celebration. I'm sure if Jim Benson were with us, he would have the answers for me. And going back, again, I did a lot of research trying to find out what we did to celebrate the 100th, and I found nothing. So I thought, let's find out who else is celebrating a 200th anniversary this year. Well, we'll collaborate with this great other town. One, the city of Boston. City of Boston was incorporated as a city, though they existed much longer, in 1822. So then I said, well, that's not really a good match for West Bridgewater. We're out here, a little town hick farming community. So I did a little more research. Monroe, Massachusetts. Who's heard of Monroe, Massachusetts? Population 118. And they'll be celebrating their 200th anniversary on the 21st. There's one bar in town, and I'm going to make my journey there on the 21st and celebrate with them. And I could probably, even with a flight attendant's salary, afford to buy the whole town one round of drinks. So yes, we gather here at the First Church because without the First Church, we don't have history. Now, how many of us have ever told someone, where you live? Hey, where do you live? Oh, West Bridgewater. What do they always say? Oh, Bridgewater, great town. It is a great town, but guess what? West is best, right, Nancy? I had the pleasure of serving many years in the Board of Selectmen with Nancy Maloney, and that was Nancy's little catchphrase, West is best. The other three are wonderful also, but we're here to celebrate West Bridgewater. So that answers those questions. And for those of you that think maybe West is just a direction, it's not. It's so much more than that. This church and this parish and the buildings that existed before this one meant so much to the people in this area of Bridgewater that when they became independent, they took the name of the parish with them, the Great West Parish, and that's why we meet here tonight. With that being said, I'm going to move on with our meeting tonight, and this is an official agendaed meeting for the Board of Selectmen. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome our next and first speaker, who is not only a fabulous senator, but also I consider him a friend. Senator Timilty, could you come forward, please? Senator, thanks for being here tonight.
Jerry, thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work. And you too are my friend, but be careful calling me a friend. There comes with some detriments and drawbacks. So I thank you very much, Jerry. Pastor, thank you very much for having us in your beautiful house of worship. It's truly my privilege to work for the people of this town in conjunction with your Select Board Member Reyes, Select Board Member Anderson, Chair Kinahan, and serve with, obviously, the great elected officials who are here tonight, all of us to celebrate the greatness that is the people of West Bridgewater. And I thank you very much, Chief Flaherty, for the hospitality. But it's an honor to be here tonight with Jared Valenzola, Tim Cruz, our District Attorney, Joe McDonald, of course, Mayor Sullivan, who goes back a long way with me to Boston College, Dave Sheedy from East Bridgewater, and, of course, Dennis Gallagher and Dave Gagney. This truly is a great town, and this town is what America's all about. People who care for about themselves, about their families, about their communities, and about the greatness that is West Bridgewater. So this week in the State Senate, I offered a resolution with the full support of Representative Jerry Cassidy that states as follows. whereas the town of West Bridgewater will celebrate its bicentennial anniversary on February 16th, 2022, and whereas the town of West Bridgewater separated from the city of Bridgewater and was officially incorporated on February 16th, 1822, with all of its 15.7 square miles, and whereas the town of West Bridgewater and its 7,475 residents have stayed true to the town's original agrarian nature, all while adjusting to meet the demands of a 21st century community. And whereas it is fitting to recognize the town of West Bridgewater on the occasion of this special milestone and to celebrate its distinguished history and contribution to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Massachusetts State Senate hereby congratulates the town of West Bridgewater, its wonderful citizens, on its bicentennial anniversary celebration, and further extends to the town its sincere best wishes for continued success and happiness in the years to come. And the best is yet to come with this great town. And be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be transmitted forthwith by the Clerk of the Senate to the town of West Bridgewater. It has been signed by our Senate President, Karen E. Spilka, attested to by our Clerk, Michael Hurley, and signed by one very proud state senator, Walter F. Timilty, with the full support of Representative Jerry Cassidy. And thank you all very much. It's great to be with you all tonight. Congratulations, West Bridgewater.
Thank you, Senator. Thinking back about how much work has been put in to the efforts for our bicentennial celebration, and how much time and efforts probably went into the celebration for the 400th anniversary of Plymouth. And unfortunately, most of those plans were ruined due to COVID. And we wish Plymouth their happiest of 400th birthdays. And with that being said, I'd like to call up Plymouth County Commissioner Jared Valenzola. Been going to church here since I was a little kid. I still don't have it down either. Pastor's going, when have you been to this church? It's been a while. It's been a while.
Thank you. Well, you know, I'm Catholic. They let us out sometimes. Thank you, Jerry, to Selectman Chairman Kinahan, Selectman Anderson, Selectman Reyes, our friends and colleagues in government. I wanted to extend my sincere congratulations to the town of West Bridgewater on your bicentennial. I wanted to first just extend the sincere congratulations of my colleagues, Chairman Sandra Wright and Commissioner Greg Hanley, who send their regrets they can't be here this evening, as well as County Treasurer Tom O'Brien. The speaking order folks gifted me with going before Register John Buckley, who I know always has some really interesting stories about each community in Plymouth County. But as former Selectman Lawrence pointed out, of course, Plymouth Colony was founded 1620. My position and the position of the county, the position the DA and the sheriff hold were all incorporated in 1685 when we became one with Mass Bay Colony. And of course, the history of the Bridgewaters is one that is not lost on all of you folks. As it would be, luck would have it, of course, I drew the best straw in the speaking order. I drew the short straw in leaving the county's proclamation at the county office. I will personally deliver that. But if I can recall, it will go something like this. Be it hereby known that the commissioners of Plymouth County extend their sincere best wishes and congratulations to the bicentennial of the town of West Bridgewater, and hereby declare February 16, 2022, West Bridgewater Day in Plymouth County, and we extend our sincerest best wishes for continued success as a wonderful community and a pillar of Plymouth County. And that is signed Commission Chairman Sandra Wright, Commissioner Gregory Hanley, and myself, Commissioner Jared Valenzola. Again, thank you so much for having us here this evening, and looking forward to hearing from the rest of the folks with us. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a visual effect for this next introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our hometown boys, born and raised, well, not born, but raised here in West Bridgewater, spent many, many years here, and now proudly serves us as our District Attorney, Tim Cruz. Thank you, Jerry. It's an honor to be here tonight. I want to tell you, many years ago, I went to the police academy, and while I'm in the academy, people keep coming up to me like, your brother gets you in? Like, my brother, the oil man? Next day, your brother gets you in? Now, I'm flying on a flight probably about a month, 3 months ago. For those who don't know, I'm a flight attendant. Brockton Police Chief comes up and he goes, John? I said, no, I'm Jerry Lawrence and I'm not Tim Cruz either. And he goes, how'd you know what I thought? I was like, yes, I'm from West Bridgewater, but I'm not a Cruz. Gives me an honor to welcome the real Tim Cruz.
I always thought Jerry was a good-looking guy. My name's Tim Cruz. I'm the Plymouth DA, and I have been for the last 20 years. But I grew up here in West Bridgewater. This is my 45th anniversary of graduating from high school in 1977 here at the high school. I see classmates here, Chris Anatelli, Peter Turner. I played football with Jimmy Benson, and I think back fondly to those days. My job nowadays is a little bit different. And when you see me, usually it's not a good thing. And that's why I enjoy going to events like this and coming home to West Bridgewater. And I grew up here. I went to Buncey's. I went to the go-kart right next to it. I skated and played hockey at Crossroads, which is no longer now. I think it's a recycling center now. And all the things and Cheryl Benson, too. I see Cheryl there, too. And all the great things that we had an opportunity to do in West Bridgewater, which was a small little town and where you develop the character and the people that I see here, the police officers, the selectmen, the people that give so much to this town to make it what it is. And it really is just a little piece of America's hometown. And that's what I feel when I come here. And I'm so lucky in my job now as the chief prosecutor in our county, where we have 20,000 criminal cases a year. I have 60 lawyers that work in our office. We have 150 employees. We have 24 troopers that work with us to deal with all sorts of really serious things. But I remember where I come from. And I remember when I was growing up, and I remember now in my job when I go out and I talk to kids in school, and I talk right here in West Bridgewater because we always go to the DARE programs. All the programs are out there to help the children, make sure they can stay out of trouble. And when I go to the DARE program here in West Bridgewater, I always make sure I didn't miss it. We haven't had it because of COVID in the last couple of years, but Kenny Thaxter was still the DARE officer back then. And I will end, because I could go on for a really long time, and I'm not going to. But I will end with what I told the kids in West Bridgewater when I go to those schools. You know what? I don't live in West Bridgewater anymore, but if you ask me where I live, I will tell you. But if you ask me where I'm from, I will tell you I'm from West Bridgewater. Congratulations, West Bridgewater. You have earned it. You have a lot of really good people that make this town so very, very special. And I'm very happy to be here tonight and say happy birthday to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tim. I think West Bridgewater knows, as a whole, we have a spectacular police department. And working hand in hand with our police department is not only our district attorney, but our sheriff's department. And we've always had such a great relationship with our sheriff. And this is going to allow me to introduce Sheriff Joe. Come on up, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Joe McDonald.
Thank you, Jerry, for the wonderful introduction. And I want to thank the town of West Bridgewater for inviting me here tonight. And I will say that although, unlike the DA, I'm not a native son of West Bridgewater, I have always felt very welcome. I have more than a few friends over here, and I spend more than a little time over here. So I may look familiar to many, and not in a professional way, which is good. But I'm thrilled to be here, and I do know Jerry is, as he intimated before, oftentimes mistaken for John Cruz, because they look a little bit alike. And I know, people have joked in the past that, Jerry was the winner of the John Cruz look-alike contest. But I think it was the other way around. I think John was actually the winner of the Jerry Lawrence look-alike contest, right? Are we right? Yeah, I think so. But it's wonderful to be here to celebrate 200 years. That's a great accomplishment. It seems like only yesterday I was here at the Centennial. We didn't have the microphones and I had to, no, I'm just kidding. I wasn't here for that. But sometimes I feel like I was. But the history of this area, and I'm speaking before my colleague, my friend and fellow historian, John Buckley, our Register of Deeds, who is an excellent historian. I am a somewhat less excellent historian, but I am a student of history, and I love to read about this. Now, I know it had been mentioned. We talked a little bit about America's hometown. I think Tim mentioned that over in Plymouth. Plymouth and Brockton are our shire towns, but really, America was born here in Plymouth County. And Jerry, you had mentioned before that back when it was part of Duxbury, and that's absolutely true. The way that the land grants worked here, when the Pilgrims came in 1620, they were blown off course. They were expected to land in Virginia, and they ended up here, and that opened up a lot of doors that would not have necessarily been open to them had they not been blown off course. And here in Plymouth County, you know, we say America's hometown. We are America's home county, and I'm very, very proud of that. And here in West Bridgewater, we share in that. The very first document of self-government here in the New World was the Mayflower Compact. And that was made possible because we knew that having been blown off what was our original chartered land from the Crown, we were able and free to make our own way. I also want to thank the pastor for making this available to us. I think it's exceptionally appropriate that we are meeting here in the house of God to talk about these things, because we know that it was the grace of God that brought the Pilgrims here to our shores, and because of God that they came. They left Great Britain because they wanted to practice their religion, their way. They sought freedom, and here they found it. But West Bridgewater is such an intimate part of that. You know, the settlement here with the Native Americans goes back, you know, thousands of years. But as far as the European settlements, you know, it was originally part of Duxbury. It goes back, I think, to the 1650s, 1650, 1651, when the settlers first came here. So, you know, people have been here and worked here. And some of the little facts, too, that I have read in the past, although I don't have them right in front of me, it's my understanding that West Bridgewater is credited with having had the first industrial park. And, you know, that's on the town river there. In fact, the original Ames Shovel Works was here, not in Northeastern, although they probably would like to tell you that, was here in West Bridgewater, yeah, 1774. Captain John Ames came here and started making shovels. So really quite a history, something to be proud of. But as I said, you know, although I am not from here and I was not born here, I spend time here because I like to. And I spend time here because the people are so wonderful. So I just want to say, from where I stand here, as the 30th sheriff, as was mentioned, going back to 1692, which is when our office was founded, I just want to say this, you know, God bless the town of West Bridgewater, and may you have many, many more hundreds of years. But more importantly, and most importantly, thank you and God bless the people who make this town what it is. Very special. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. As I mentioned, one time we were a part of the great town of Bridgewater, now referred to as Old Bridgewater, and we are very pleased to host the Old Bridgewater Historic Society is located in our town, telling the story about the 4 Bridgewaters prior to us all becoming independent. It's a great organization, always looking for volunteers and historians, and they're located over on Howard Street. And they also maintain the Reverend James Keith House, our first permanent minister to come to the new land. And he was settled here in West Bridgewater, and believe it or not, back in the day, they actually purchased a home for him. And that's a museum on River Street. And again, that's open numerous times during the summer. It's all been put back to the way it originally looked, and it's a great place to visit. And we did quite a bit of work there over last summer with the Lions Club, helped out with some restoration, and that organization can always use some help. Again, that's the Old Bridgewater Historic Society. And again, people always asking, wait a minute, Jerry, what's this 1656 we see on everything? Wasn't that our birthday? Well, that's actually the birthday of Old Bridgewater. It's also the date that Bridgewater is able to celebrate their original birthday. A couple years back, when we were celebrating Selectman Marrera's countless years as selectman, I had asked our town clerk to do a little bit of history and research to find out if Selectman Marrero was actually the longest-serving selectman. And one of the things she discovered is there's a book in town with all the selectmen predating our town. So it's fabulous to have that history dating back to the original Bridgewater right here in town. And thank Annie and Sharon for all the work helping out with the preparation for tonight and for that history of our selectmen. Very, very interesting. Thank you. So with that being said, we do have a fabulous representative from the town of Bridgewater, our sister town, Dennis Gallagher.
Thank you, Jerry, and good evening, everybody. Before I read the greetings from the town of Bridgewater, I do want to give a few personal notes. I grew up in this area and lived in this area all my life. And one thing that I like about this area, and particularly the town of West Bridgewater, is that it has maintained pretty much its character over these many, many years. And as a young man, I used to work, my first job when I came home from college the first summer, and all of you probably remember the name Mr. Sneakers down the street. And that was one of my first summer jobs. In addition to, I remember numerous times as a young infant going to Trukey's with my mother shopping. So Trukey's means a lot to me because it still maintained its business power here in the town of West Bridgewater. And for a small town like West Bridgewater to be able to maintain two good supermarkets says a lot about the community. And it's just great to be here. It's great to have lived in this area all my life in the different aspects of the history in all three Bridgewaters and our other surrounding towns. So it was this great pride that the town council present this proclamation to the town of West Bridgewater. And the council president was not able to be here tonight. I know one of my colleagues, Sean George, is here. We had a pretty long and intense meeting last night, so a few of them took the night off. To the town of West Bridgewater. West Bridgewater was first settled in 1651 as part of the old Bridgewater. West Bridgewater separated from Bridgewater and was officially incorporated on February 16, 1822. And West Bridgewater is a town in Plymouth County, Massachusetts, celebrating their 200th anniversary today. In recognition of the town of West Bridgewater's rich history of farming and home of the oldest standing parsonage in the United States, the Keith House, the town of Bridgewater is honored to pay tribute to the town and its residents. And the town council of Bridgewater wishes to recognize and congratulate the town and its residents on this momentous occasion. Congratulations, and we look forward to the next 200. And that's signed by the entire members of the Bridgewater Town Council and our town clerk. So thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. You know, a lot of times we hear West Bridgewater is not the small town it used to be. Actually, it is. It's actually smaller. If you're not aware, in the year 1822, we were a bigger town. And a big chunk of our town was annexed to Brockton. If you're driving down Main Street from West Bridgewater into Brockton, on the left-hand side, there's a little brick building just before you get to where the BAT bus is. That's the original town line, and the marker is actually still there. So if you want to go down and see what, almost into, just about to the BAT bus area, look on the left-hand side. It's a granite marker in the middle of the curb, right in front of that little brick building. So that's where our town used to end. So we're actually a smaller town than we used to be. We annexed that to the, well, probably at the time it was the town of North Bridgewater. No, it was the city of Brockton, and the city of champions. And it gives me a great honor to welcome tonight the biggest of the Bridgewaters, Mayor Sullivan from Brockton, Massachusetts. Mayor, welcome.
Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Pastor, thank you so much for welcoming me here. Thank you, elected officials on the state level. Walter, great to see you. County level, local level, selectmen. town administrator, but more importantly, all of you. I'm a Brockton guy. I was born and raised in the city of Brockton, near the Dairy Queen, near Brockton High. And it would be really, growing up in Brockton, it was always fun to come down here, go to Jay's Driving Range, go to Bunsey's, get a turkey sandwich at Azak's. But I think as a kid growing up in Brockton, what I loved best about the town of West Bridgewater was St. Anne's. Because on Sunday, my mom and dad would take us there. It was only a 30-minute mass. And Brockton, where I was, it was an hour at a Lady of Lord. So we'd come down here, we'd hoop it up. No, I just want to say congratulations. Like 200 years, I mean, that speaks volumes. That's a milestone. And my aunt and uncle, Bob and Frank Lyons, are residents of this great town. My cousin Brendan Hayes and his wife Sherry are residents of this fine town. You have great people. The fabric of the town of West Bridgewater is made up of all of you, and it's generational. And those that came before you, those that were in the pews that you're in right now, they created the path of success. And I didn't know about where the line was, so we might have to talk about that tomorrow, you know, but I will say this. When I got the invitation to be here tonight, I was like, excellent, of course I'll be there. And I can speak for my fellow elected officials. This is what it means to serve the public, come together as one. COVID has changed everything, right, for everybody. I want to thank David. The town administrator has worked yeoman's hours with me, because what's good for Brockton is good for West Bridgewater and vice versa. So on behalf of the citizens, 106,000 of us over there, I want to say thank you for what you do every day, what you do in your town, what you do for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're always better together. So it doesn't matter if you live where I live on the west side of Brockton or you live down here. We're one. And even though we were North Bridgewater, and West is best, I went to West Junior High, West is best. But I will tell you this, as a guy that grew up in the city, I'm just honored to be here with all of you tonight. And I want to say congratulations. The best is definitely yet to come for another 200 years. God bless each and every one of you. And God bless the wonderful town of West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things we had decided when we first started planning the 200th anniversary is it wasn't going to be a year full of speeches. So this is it. After this, it's fun. I had the opportunity to go over and meet with some of the representatives from the Old Bridgewater Historic Society, and they were asking what other events we have. Of course, we're going to work with them, some events over there. And I said, we're going to have an 80s dance at the Canoe Club. They said, 1880s? No, but boy, wouldn't you guys be surprised if you showed up for an 1880s dance. We do suspect we're going to have some special guests from years past at that event, and that's going to be at the Canoe Club Ballroom, probably our town's longest running business in town. At one time, it actually was a canoe club where they stored their canoes, and on the second floor was a ballroom. When you go downstairs, there's some photos that are actually reproductions of old postcards. I have an extensive collection, which probably didn't touch what Jim Benson had. We had to have a gentleman's agreement. We wouldn't bid against each other on eBay because we're constantly bidding each other up. And I'm like, wait a minute, are you JB206? He's like, are you JL? So we had an agreement we wouldn't bid against each other. But there are some photos downstairs blown up of some old postcards. Show some great sights, and during the year, during the celebration, we'll have more of those photos available. One of them is really neat of this church, and it actually shows the stables along the side of the church where people would park their horses while they're here for service. It's just such great history, and life in West Bridgewater was all about the river. We have some beautiful pictures, again, we'll be posting on Facebook and during some of the events. Beautiful woman in these big, beautiful dresses with parasols, and they have Victrolas out in their canoes. So life was really on the river, and we have some events coming up also planned on the river where you can be able to canoe and whatnot. I want to thank all our guest speakers that came today. We do have a representative from East Bridgewater also, so we are all represented. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for not talking. People don't like it. They don't want to hear it. He tells me he's just here to steal ideas for next year, really. Speaking of ideas for next year, if you've tried to buy the West Bridgewater beer, I think it's sold out. But I promise you there's more to come. It's first in a series of 3. So there'll be more West Bridgewater beer coming over the summer and into the fall. We also, when you head downstairs, we have some commemorative coins available. There's only 200 made. This is a fundraiser to help with future events for the anniversary. As a selectman, I had the great honor and privilege to help select our next town administrator. And it was a very long process. And the one thing I'm sure of that I did right as a selectman, and I know all you were saying, well, you didn't do everything right. You're right, probably didn't. But one thing I know I did right, and he's led our town great, and he's served our Board of Selectmen wonderful from my term on. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome not only my friend, well, not only my, yeah, whatever, David Gagney.
You know, I looked it up. The 21st is Monday. It's a holiday. Let's all go to Monroe and get a free drink. First, before I get started, I want to say a couple of things. One, I want to say thank you to Jeremy and to Paula. This event wouldn't have been possible without them. They did a ton of work setting up downstairs. And also to my staff, Linda and Lorna in the back. They have worked countless hours for months putting this together, printing everything 18 times, because we kept on having changes. But they just did an excellent job, so thank you. You know, as we all look back in our lives and our careers, we all identify areas that sometimes we're unlucky, and sometimes we're lucky. I was lucky 9 years ago when I got appointed as your town administrator. The town of West Bridgewater is a gem. It's a really unique, special town. So it gets me thinking, what is West Bridgewater? What makes West Bridgewater what it is? I'll tell you. It's Mary Anderson. She sat on the Finance Committee for over a decade, volunteering her time and effort. Now sits as a selectman, but also volunteers in so many other committees in town as well. It's Denise, who also served on the Finance Committee for 12 years, and then now is on her second term as a selectman. It's Anthony. He looks pretty young. He is. But he served multiple terms on the Finance Committee. He's now running for his third term as selectman. They're giving back to the community. That's West Bridgewater. It's not just the current selectman. It's Jerry. Jerry served 12 years as a selectman, but what people don't realize, he first won elected office when he was 18. 30 years he sat in this town as an elected person. Nancy Maloney. She sat there for 2 terms as a selectman, but for over a decade on the school committee before that. And of course, it's Eldon. 39 years as a selectman. Years as a selectman, longest tenured position ever in the history of this town. But you know what? That's not all he did. 14 years in the Finance Committee before that. 53 years he volunteered for this town. That's West Bridgewater. It's not just selectmen. It's Eric Benson. He worked for the town for decades, but also served as our moderator. Is Joan and Tom. Joan worked for years in the police department, retired, but they still give back sitting on committees. It's Tim Hay, who gives countless hours at the Conservation Commission. Remember, water's in our name, right? They're busy. He does all that work and still does fine work here in the church. It's Beth Smith. You know, Beth Smith served 30 years working in the library, retired from us, and while she did that, her husband served multiple terms as a selectman and on the Finance Committee. That's the town of West Bridgewater. That's what this is. That's why it's a gem. You know, when you think about the town, we're really only 18, 20 miles from Boston, as the crow flies. Millions of people. But you come here with 7,000 people with lots of farmland and lots of open space and wonderful acres that are available. That's the town of West Bridgewater. That's what makes us unique. You know, where else can you go where you can see a multi-million-dollar brand new state-of-the-art school with a beautiful athletic complex, and across the street you can watch cows graze? Or you can drive down River Street and you can be behind this really swanky Mercedes or BMW, and you're like, why are they going so slow? And it's because a farm tractor is in front of a bale of hay. That's West Bridgewater. That's what makes us special. Nobody else can say those things. So, it's 200 years today. And I can honestly tell you, I have never seen anything 200 years old look so damn good. Thank you very much. At this point, we are going to kick off a ceremonial coin ceremony to our current and former selectmen. I will hand them out. I will start with the current chair. It's Anthony Kinahan. I'll bring it over. Anthony, you don't get one. You get a box. But anyway, Selectman Kinahan from 2016 to current. To Denise Reyes. Gravity works. It also rolls. I did that earlier. So, 2018, here is your coin. Selectman Reyes, thank you very much for this. Mary, I don't want to drop yours. So, Selectman Anderson, thank you very much for your service. From 1981 to 2020, Selectman Eldon Marrero. From 2006 to 2018, Selectman Jerry Lawrence. From 2010 to 2016, Selectwoman Nancy Maloney. I will read off from 2004 to 2010 was Matt Albanese. I do not believe he is here. From 1992 to 2004, Selectman Richard Friedis. Is Rick? I don't believe Rick is here. And from 1985 to 1997 was Judy Kinney. And the last is Mr. Bob Smith. From 1967 to 1970, and also 1987 to 1992, it's my honor to give it to Beth Smith, his wife. Thank you, everybody. I'll turn it back over to Jerry.
Thank you, David. I'd now like to introduce the Registrar of Deeds, John Buckley. We want to thank you for the Community Preservation Act money. It does great things in town.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here at the kickoff of your bicentennial. I was very involved in the Plymouth 400 celebration. Unfortunately, that was hit very hard by COVID. Thankfully, we're making the turn, and you should have a great year. Just a couple of suggestions as you go forward. One is to have some fun with it. We did not have fun in Plymouth during that time period. We were able to do a number of things that celebrated the great achievements of Plymouth and Plymouth Colony during that time period. And I will work with Jerry as you go forward with those suggestions as you bring about your committee and develop your plans for this coming year. We did a poster project for a lot of the colonial records. I gave a copy of that to the 3 selectmen. And we did a 1-hour video of all the stories of the colonial records. Jared mentioned earlier I could tell a lot of those stories, but we've been here a long time, and I won't keep doing that. I also want to correct a comment by the sheriff. I am not a historian. I, like you, are somebody that really enjoys history. We all enjoy the stories of the land we walk on every day, and that's been my great honor as your Register of Deeds to take care of the land records that tell those stories. A couple things we've done at the registry. We established a notable land record collection, over 100 different places and people in Plymouth County that tell the story of your history. A couple that I brought with me that I'll pass over to Jerry today is a famous person from West Bridgewater, Hastings Keith. He is the last congressman elected from Plymouth County, but he was a tremendous congressman, doesn't get the credit that he deserved. I worked on this story with his daughter Carol, but he was the real founder of the Cape Cod National Seashore, and he was the congressman during a cranberry scare when nobody was eating cranberries anymore, or drinking cranberry juice because of the alleged carcinogenics. Hastings founded a study that disproved that theory, and obviously we all have great cranberry juice today, and Ocean Spray has succeeded. The other one that is a great place that I was brought out to walk across with a representative from Fish and Wildlife is the Skim River Bridge, Skim Milk Bridge. And I have a copy of that deed and a copy of that story. I also brought with me a story of the original deed for Bridgewater. It's in the colonial records back in 1645. It's a copy of it. When in the court orders, they authorized Miles Standish, John Alden, and several other colonists to purchase the land from the Wampanoag Indians, and that obviously resulted in the city of Brockton, the town of West Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, and the town of Bridgewater. So I enjoy the work that we do and how we share this with people. The colonial records are on the second floor of the Registry of Deeds in our Plymouth office. I invite you, as part of this journey you're going on, to come and visit that anytime you would like. And I congratulate you on kicking off this great program. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a moment and give out a few thank yous. This is just really the kickoff of our year-long celebration, and it's going to be a very diverse collaboration of events throughout the year. First of all, I want to thank, I'm the president of the Lions Club, if you don't know. We're also celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. We have some pins downstairs available for sale, along with West Bridgewater stuff. But the reason I bring that up is the vice president of our Lions Club is Paula Bunker, and she's been incredible helping me organize our year-long events and collaborating with other town departments and organizations. I tell you, I came up with the idea for beer. I probably went down to the Black Hat Brewery 9 or 10 times trying out different beers to see what was right for us. Paula was always willing to go with me. We spent hours upon hours there trying different mixes, and But truly, I would call Paula, I'm in California, I call, it's 2 a.m. here, and I'm like, Paula, put this in the book, I have an idea. And never did she hang up on me, a couple grunts, but, so we did have a book all year long. And I want to thank the Lions Club for taking on this year-long journey with me as we collaborate with all the town departments and organizations. The First Church, again, thank you for the First Church for letting us host our event here. Our town's your town, and without the First Church, I'm sure we wouldn't be what we are today. Farley's Florist for donating the flowers and ribbons and whatnot for the church and for downstairs. The Market Basket donated some food for our reception downstairs, along with Truckee Supermarket donated the official birthday cake. And of course, the Boston Police Department, the West Bridgewater Police Department, and Black Hat Brewery is downstairs with some of our red ale. And we have some champagne donated by Hockomock Liquors. So we ask that you please don't just run off and leave. Please join us downstairs for a nice reception. We have a nice little photo area set up celebrating our 200th anniversary. And with that being said, Selectman Kinahan, do you have a motion to adjourn your meeting? Ladies and gentlemen, Selectman Kinahan has adjourned the meeting. Please join us downstairs.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater!
Happy birthday.
Happy
West Bridgewater beer.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater!
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater. Congratulations.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater!
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater.
Hey, West Bridgewater, happy Bicentennial. Happy birthday. Happy 200.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater. It's great to be back. I'm Tim Cruz. I'm the Plymouth DA and grew up here in West Bridgewater. It's always fun to come home. And once again, happy birthday, and you've earned it.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater!
West Bridgewater, happy birthday, happy 200. Another 200 great ones coming.
From all of us in West Bridgewater, happy birthday to us. Happy 200.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater.
Happy birthday, West Bridgewater.
Happy 200th birthday to West Bridgewater.